ENTJs know how to be a boss. They're strong, decisive, and they make excellent leaders. But they don't all lead the same way. We're going to use the Enneagram to break down the top 3 leadership styles of ENTJs. Hi, I'm Ayla with True You Systems, and we're going to start with Enneagram 8s, the commanders. ENTJ 8s are assertive, protective, and natural-born leaders who strive in high-pressure situations. They're the boss so that no one is the boss of them. That's actually their core motivation, to not be controlled by someone else. They're the type of leaders that charge headlong into challenges and never back down. They're kind of like a bulldozer. They know how to move obstacles out of their path, and they expect their team to be able to keep up with them. And they don't really care if people like them while they're doing this, as long as it's getting it done. They do things their own way, and they don't really care how somebody else normally does it. They're really decisive, and they're comfortable with risk, and this is because they have a high level of confidence. They're kind of like pure confidence. They're not going to let someone tell them they can't do something. They're going to take that challenge and do it. Even if they don't know how, they're going to learn how. And that confidence is not an act. It's just kind of naturally coming out of them. It's not for show. It's just like, I don't care what you think, and I'm still going to do what I want to do. That's basically it. Think Larry Ellison of Oracle. He's not scared to make bold, brash decisions quickly, doing things like switching from a traditional database system to cloud computing. And it was risky, but it paid off. He's also notorious for openly challenging and confronting competitors. 8s can be extremely blunt. You might hear things like, I don't want to hear about your excuses. Get it done. I don't have time for this today. Figure it out. They just have no time for BS. And they're so uninterested in red tape and rules. They value results over rules, and they just don't want to have to conform to somebody else's policies. In fact, they have no problem having their team go around a rule in order to get something done. You know, they might say something like, I don't care when you come into work. I don't care if you come in at 9 a.m. or 10 p.m. Look, I'm not your mom. I'm not keeping track of your bedtime. Just get the work done, and if anyone has a problem with it, they can take it up with me. These leaders are impulsive and they go with their gut. If they see potential in somebody, they'll promote them, maybe even right on the spot. You know, there's that random intern working around the office and they're like low level, but the boss sees something in them. So the ENTJ 8 is going to challenge them and see if they can rise to their full potential. Put them under some pressure and then see what comes out of it. And then if they got the goods and they actually can do the thing that needs to get done, they're going to promote them. They don't care whether or not it's the protocol of how you're supposed to do something or if this is the way that other places do it. They're going to do it that way because that's how they want to. They just don't care as much about credentials. They care more about if the person measures up. You know, you're just a teacher working at a school and the fire alarm goes off and you handle it pretty well. And the ENTJ 8 saw that and they're like, you're now the head of the emergency preparedness team. And it's like, okay, I'm just like a teacher. And the thing is, you were good at that. When they go with their gut, it's not totally random. It seems really just kind of all of a sudden, but they're often right. And they're not going to be warm and fuzzy about it. You know, they're going to do this in sort of a tough love kind of way. Like, you got this, but you need to step up to the plate. It's more like I see something in you, so don't let me down and don't you dare look back. ENTJ 8 leaders still feel this undercurrent of being an underdog. Because of this, they can be very protective of the people who work under them. They don't want anyone taking advantage of them, and they don't want anyone taking advantage of the people who are working with them. So this might be things like showing up at a board meeting that they weren't really even invited to, and then interrupting the head of the board in order to make a point about the people who are working under them being unfairly paid. Like, they're not scared of upper management. They're not scared of most things. They're happy to put their neck out on the line. Like, this is a good fight. It's a fight worth having. Part of what makes them good leaders is that they can see other leaders and how they're failing at being a good role model and leader to their team. They often are like, I'm okay having a boss as long as the boss is a good boss. And they're like, that is trash. This is how you really do it. And because of that, they often end up being in charge. So 8s have amazing natural leadership skills, but they can also be controlling and vindictive, sometimes being dictatorial. It can sometimes be hard for them to listen to feedback or even to delegate things. Sometimes it can go into the realm of it's my way or the highway. They can have trouble with weakness or seeing things as vulnerable and can kind of bulldoze through those things. And sometimes those things are people. So that blunt, intense style can sometimes lean towards being intimidating. But when they empower those under them to have more agency and control, they can be amazing leaders who can inspire a huge amount of loyalty and dedication. Okay, next we have ENTJ 3, who I'm calling the politician. And that's because they are highly successful and they look good doing it. They're efficient, they're charismatic, and they're goal-oriented. They want to be in the spotlight. Unlike the ENTJ 8 who wants to be the boss so that no one's the boss of them, ENTJ 3s want to be the boss because that's the best you can be. They become leaders because they want to be admired in that position. They have a strong desire for praise and affirmation, and this drives them to succeed and do big things. They're the type of leaders who are trying to push for the next big thing, the next big win. And this could be in any field that they're working in sales or strategy. It really doesn't matter. They're looking for how to be winners. And they look impressive while they're doing that. They're really excellent personal brand makers. They have a knack for being able to see a goal and see every step that needs to happen in order to get to that goal. They work really fast and they hate to be slowed down. They like catchy slogans because of this, because it gives you all the information you need and quickly. They're probably the one that came up with the catchy slogan, or they learned it from some other 3. Things like the 5 A's of advertising, or things like strive for progress, not perfection, or believe you can and you're halfway there. They don't want to get bogged down in the details of something because that slows you down. So if an employee is taking too long to actually get something done, they're going to be like, let's move it or lose it here, people. Let's hustle. Because they want to get things done, they tend to be good delegators and often don't micromanage. They figure, I'm important, I'm busy, I shouldn't have to be doing all these minor small things, and they should be busy too. So they tend to be very optimized and very efficient. They really want to do what's going to be successful and seen as successful, and so they don't mind emulating somebody else's success. They really just want to do what works, so they don't mind having a cut and paste model. If people like it, do it. And because they're so efficient, they like shortcuts for being able to get to the thing that works. They're the student in class that figured out that you can write the same paper for every class. They know how to play the game. They're smart and savvy, but they can sometimes prioritize output over quality. But they really are good at delivering on a goal, nonetheless. They still got an A, so they're winning. Unlike ENTJ 8s, they want to be liked and they do care how other people see them. And because of this, they actually tend to be more tuned into the needs of others and what they want. They understand people really well, their team and their customers. They're good at modulating how they say something depending on their audience, and they become excellent salespeople. Because they really understand people and their desires, they're really good at branding. But they take it to another level where they even make you want something you didn't even know you wanted. Like, ever heard of the Patagonian toothfish? No, because that's a terrible way to call a fish and no one's going to buy it. But if you call it Chilean sea bass, now you're talking. It's not even a bass, it's a type of cod. But it doesn't matter because that's what sells. There was some 3 out there who was noticing that there was just money on the table with people just throwing away that fish, and they're like, no, that's going to be a culinary celebrity. And just like that, we all believe it. ENTJ 3s are behind some of the biggest sales ideas that we're familiar with. Things like Nike and just do it. That's a 3 motto. It doesn't even matter what it is. It's just pure ambition, and they're taking you along this epic journey of betterment. When you're wearing your Nikes, you're a winner. You might just be walking to your fridge and back, but you're a real winner for buying these. Because they care about how other people see them, they're tuned into how other people perceive what they're doing and whether or not it is seen as successful. Things like noticing, is this the right chair for an executive to have? How does this desk make me look? Is this the right logo for the company that we have? And what they do is who they are. So they really care about this. Their union, their little league team, their PTA, it doesn't matter. Whatever they're doing, they're putting all their effort into because it is who they are. Think Howard Schultz, the founder of Starbucks. Before Starbucks, people weren't all going to the same coffee place, but now it's on every corner. Everyone knows Starbucks, and by drinking it, you're part of that higher status. He focused on image cultivation and ambitious growth, creating a brand with mass appeal. They created a whole season. We have pumpkin spice season now. Before that, all we had was just fall. So 3s can read the room and they can work the room. But they can also run the risk of prioritizing optics over substance, focusing too much on how things appear versus how they actually are. Like, you have a 3 boss who wants you to produce something for some event, and you're like, what's supposed to be in this thing that we're making? And they're like, no, it doesn't matter, but it's gonna look good. And you're like, okay, but what are we making? Well, whatever it is, it's gonna look good. And you're like, what are we making? Whatever it is, it's gonna be polished. The thing is, oftentimes they're right about how something needs to look. Sometimes they can spend more time making something look snazzy, which is kind of strange because they also really like things being efficient. And they hate slowing down. Because of this, they can be overly focused on checking boxes and staying busy. But at their best, these ENTJ 3 leaders can inspire people to be ambitious. When 3s share the spotlight with their team, they all are winners. By the way, if you've been liking this video, press the like button. And if you're really liking this, check out my Enneagram self-typing cards. I'll leave a link in the description below. And I also do one-on-one coaching. So let me know and reach out, and I'd love to hear from you. Okay, next we have ENTJ 1s, who I'm calling the judge. They're principled, disciplined, and focused on improvement because they see flaws everywhere. ENTJ 1s are perfectionistic and hold themselves and others to a high standard. They're all about structure and integrity and doing things the right way. They're the type of boss who has a rule or procedure for every situation. They're the boss because if they're not making sure things are done correctly, someone is going to do it wrong. This perfectionistic stance means that they tend to not see gray area. It's either perfect or it's not good enough. And it's important for them that everyone is on the same page with this. Everything has a handbook, a notice, a label, an SOP, maybe even an SOP for creating SOPs. There's a way that things are supposed to get done, and they like having clear systems that show that. Because of this, they tend to be highly detail-oriented, which is different than both ENTJ 8 and 3s. They're less interested in just getting something done. A job worth doing is only worth doing if it's done right. So they don't tend to just bulldoze into things or make sure that it looks good. They just want to make sure that it's done perfectly, even if not as much gets done. They tend to be highly principled and concerned with morals. Think John Mackey of Whole Foods. He was concerned with creating something that would have conscious capitalism baked right into it. And the store really reflects this. Everything in there is virtuous. There are no guilty pleasures allowed in Whole Foods. Even the chocolate is virtuous. You just spent $12 on a chocolate bar and ate the entire thing, but you're saving the planet. They have a supplier code of conduct for being able to stay this virtuous. They proudly state that they've banned over 550 different ingredients. They love to tell you things that are not in their products. It's salad trim free. I don't know what salad trim is, but they're making sure it's not in there. But this other side of being highly principled and moral is that they can kind of moralize everything. Things like an employee is late to a meeting, and instead of assuming that their car broke down or their kid was sick, it's that they aren't a good employee. Maybe not even a good person. So in some cases, ENTJ 1s can be judgmental. Though, if it's pointed out to them and it's been made clear that that's not the right way to do something, they will earnestly change the way that they see something, if that change brings them more in line with their values. because ultimately they want to be good. And a one's values are deeply held and unwavering. Ones are consistent. They can sometimes have a hard time pivoting once they've committed to something. Like maybe their organization has a 5-year plan and they stick to it like it's divine scripture, even if it doesn't make sense anymore given what's happening in reality. This is really different than ENTJ 3s and 8s, on the other hand, where 3s will change because it's not what everyone is wanting, or 8s will change because it's what they decided. So they're going to stick to the protocol. They're going to stick to what's written down. And they're extremely fair about this. You knew the rules going into it, and the rules are the same for everyone. So in this way, ones can sometimes run the risk of being overly rigid and sometimes struggle to be okay with good enough solutions and finding flaws in everything. Ones fear making mistakes, and sometimes this makes them prone to micromanaging. This can sometimes make for a stressful environment working under a 1. But they can earn a lot of respect from the people working under them. That's because they have a lot of integrity. They walk the walk. If they say you can't park in the customer parking lot, they also are not going to park in the customer parking lot, even if that means walking in the rain. If they say everyone needs to sign in and sign out, well, they also are signing in and signing out. And even if all the rules can be annoying sometimes, at least they're consistent and fair. Ones can add to this natural respect that they have from people by being more flexible, by giving more autonomy to their team and allowing for more creative solutions, and maybe even tolerating some mistakes. So are all ENTJs 8, 3s, or 1s? No. There's other Enneagram types for ENTJs, but those are just the main top 3. So I'm curious, what type of leadership styles do you use, and what type of leadership styles have you seen? Let me know in the comments below. I have been learning so much from all of you, and I love hearing from you and having these amazing conversations. So thank you so much for sharing, and I can't wait to talk to you again soon. Thanks again. Bye!